What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. If you were just with us, welcome to the show if you're just discovering this. Tonight we're going to look into the world of AI, what it's capable of, and why you need to watch this. Because, well, it's been used against us for a long time now, and we have open source projects going on, platforms like GitHub that are allowing coders, designers, engineers, AI specialists, beautiful, wonderful brains to collaborate together. It's allowing a whole lot of stuff to evolve very quickly in the world of AI. And that's what we're going to take a look into tonight. What are some of the things that we need to watch out for when it comes to AI? Well, its implementation in the world of CGI and CGI animation, things like particle physics, liquid physics, smoke, things like that. And we'll get into some of that more in the later end of the video, but right now I want to kind of focus a little on just how it's learning, and that's going to preface how it's able to do a lot of the stuff with the CGI that we're going to look into towards the end of this broadcast. So I've kind of structured it in such a way that it paints a picture more so for you if you haven't been following AI in the first place. And this is kind of how I viewed AI. I kind of like took this journey as well. So we're going to take a look at this tonight. And this is all coming from a channel called 2 Minute Papers. Make sure you go and give him a sub. I'm going to put that in the description down in this video, probably after the video because I'm lazy right now. But he's done a lot of research into this. His channel is filled with videos like this, and it's really amazing the stuff that he does, stuff that he talks about. Let me pull it up and get it on the right screen, get one of these videos here. This one's called OpenAI Plays Hide and Seek. Basically, and it breaks the game. They created a platform and gave it physics rules, gave it objectives, and told it, okay, good luck trying to figure out how to do things like move, play hide and seek. One has to figure out how to hide. What does hiding mean? Oh, breaking line of sight. Oh, well, I gotta use something to break line of sight. Maybe I should move or jump, or there's a wall. What happens if I stand by the wall? Oh, I'm not in line of sight. They can't find me. I'm winning, or I won that match. The game plays itself back and forth several hundreds of times to learn how to play, and then it starts doing some wacky stuff. You may ask yourself, why did I decide to stream as a girl tonight? I don't know. It seems to not crash when I'm a girl, so do with that what you will. I don't feel like dealing with the Brio and its issues tonight. I mean, I rebooted, but I'm not taking any chances. It's been up with me as a girl all this time, so I'm gonna stay as a girl. Brand new to the channel, I do some weird stuff, funny stuff on here. I mess with a lot of the guys on Chat Roulette, and so this kind of comes from that, but it's a different webcam, so maybe it's just having a better day than the Brio. Whatever. Let's do this. Full browser. All right.
Scholars, this is 2 Minute Papers with Károly Zsolnai Fehér. In this project, OpenAI built a hide-and-seek game for their AI agents to play. While we look at the exact rules here, I will note that the goal of the project was to pit 2 AI teams against each other and hopefully see some interesting emergent behaviors. And, boy, did they do some crazy stuff. The coolest part is that the 2 teams compete against each other, and whenever one team discovers a new strategy, the other one has to adapt. Kind of like an arms race situation, and it also resembles generative adversarial networks a little. And the results are magnificent, amusing, weird. You'll see in a moment. These agents learn from previous experiences, and to the surprise of no one, for the first few million rounds, we start out with pandemonium. Everyone just running around aimlessly. Without proper strategy and semi-random movements, the seekers are favored and hence win the majority of the games. Nothing to see here. Then, over time, the hiders learned to lock out the seekers by blocking the doors off with these boxes and started winning consistently. I think the coolest part about this is that the map was deliberately designed by the OpenAI scientists in a way that the hiders can only succeed through collaboration. They cannot win alone, and hence they are forced to learn to work together, which they did quite well. But then, something happened. Did you notice this pointy, doorstop-shaped object? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Well, probably. And not only that, but about 10 million rounds later, the AI also discovered that it can be pushed near a wall and be used as a ramp, and tada! Got him. The seeker started winning more again. So, the ball is now back on the court of the hiders. Can you defend this? If so, how? Well, these resourceful little critters learned that since there is a little time at the start of the game when the seekers are frozen, apparently during this time they cannot see them, so why not just sneak out, steal the ramp, and lock it away from them? Absolutely incredible. Look at those happy eyes as they are carrying that ramp. And you think it all ends here? No, not even close. It gets weirder, much weirder. When playing a different map, a seeker has noticed that it can use a ramp to climb on the top of a box, and this happens. Do you think couch surfing is cool? Give me a break. This is box surfing. And the scientists were quite surprised by this move, as this was one of the first cases where the seeker AI seems to have broken the game. What happens here is that the physics system is coded.
I'm so sorry I had the damn mic on. It was probably echoing like crazy. And I hope that was not terribly annoying. I bet it was. But hey Nana, how's it going? This is my look into AI. I've got a bunch of videos lined up where we are taking a look at what can be done with AI and why I think everybody needs to see it in regards to CGI and animation, stuff like that, that you know who is using against us. Anyway, really interesting. The AI has just figured out that it can basically hack the physics of the platform in which it finds itself conscious in.
In a way that they are able to move around by exerting force on themselves, but there is no additional check whether they are on the floor or not, because who in their right mind would think about that? As a result, something that shouldn't ever happen does happen here. And we are still not done yet. This paper just keeps on giving. A few 100 million rounds later, the hiders learned to separate all the ramps from the boxes. Dear fellow scholars, this is proper box surfing defense. Then, lock down the remaining tools and build a shelter. Note how well rehearsed and executed this strategy is. There is not a second of time left until the seekers take off. I also love this cheeky move where they set up the shelter right next to the seekers, and I almost feel like they are saying, yeah, see this here? There is not a single thing you can do about it. In a few isolated cases, other interesting behaviors also emerged. For instance, the hiders learned to exploit the physics system and just chuck the ramp away. After that, the seekers go, what? What just happened? But don't despair, and at this point, I would also recommend that you hold on to your papers, because there was also a crazy case where a seeker also learned to abuse a similar physics issue and launch itself exactly onto the top of the hiders. Man, what a paper! This system can be extended and modded for many other tasks too, so expect to see more of these fun experiments in the future. We get to do this for a living, and we are even being paid for this. I can't believe it. In this series, my mission is to showcase beautiful works that light a fire in people. And this is, no doubt, one of those works.
Yes, absolutely. Quite an amazing look into how AI learns, how it figures stuff out to the point of breaking its reality, like Neo did in the Matrix, right? Uh, Bent the rules, bent the envelope, busted through. So that was really cool. The next one here, uh,
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2 minutes.
well, yeah,
Of
let me
course,
see
there
which
is.
one we're gonna do. These are all with the CGI stuff. Um, but before I get into that, more that I wanted to find. Why is Mark Sargent right here? Search for 2-minute papers. Mark Sargent's flat earth videos on the first page. What? Okay. Let's close. I know one that I probably should. Up. This is quite bizarre. Um, looking for the one with smoke. There it is. Well, this will be interesting.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2 minutes.
So let's do this one first.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. If we study the laws of fluid motion and implement them in a computer program, we can create and enjoy these beautiful fluid simulations. And not only that, but today, with the amazing progress in computer graphics research, we can even enrich our physics simulations with anisotropic damage and elasticity.
Keep in mind, if you didn't put it together, that the AI learning, the thing we just viewed, that learning mechanism is applied in these CGI programs. It basically kind of takes a look at real life in a lot of these things and then tries to mimic it, and it's learning. It's using the same kind of learning that the last algorithm put through. So that's how this relates to how it's unique in CGI. This is how AI learns to recreate reality that it's asked to. Okay.
So, what does that mean exactly? This means and not only Fehér. If we study the laws of fluid motion and implement them in a computer program, we can create and enjoy these beautiful fluid simulations. And not only that, but today, with the amazing progress in computer graphics research, we can even enrich our physics simulations with anisotropic damage and elasticity. So, what does that mean exactly? This means that we can simulate more extreme topological changes in these virtual objects. This leads to better material separation when the damage happens. So, it appears that today we can do a great deal, but these techniques are pretty complex and take quite a while to compute, and they typically run on your processor. That's a pity, because many powerful consumer computers also have a graphics card, and if we could restate some of these algorithms to be able to run them on those, they would run significantly faster. So, do we have any hope for that? Well, today's paper promises a new particle data structure that is better suited for number crunching on the graphics card and is, hence, much faster than its predecessors. As a result, this runs the material point method, the algorithm that is capable of simulating these wondrous things you are seeing here, not only on your graphics card, but the work on one problem can also be distributed between many graphics cards. This means that we get crushing concrete, falling soil, candy balls, sand armadillos, oh my, you name it, and all this much faster than before. Now, since these are some devilishly detailed simulations, please do not expect several frames per second kind of performance. We are still in the seconds per frame region, but we are not that far away. For instance, hold on to your papers because this candy ball example contains nearly 23 million particles, and despite that, it runs in about 4 seconds per frame on a system equipped with 4 graphics cards. 4 seconds per frame. My goodness, if somebody told this to me today without showing me this paper, I would have not believed a word of it. But there is more. You know what? Let's double the number of particles and pull up this dam break scene. What you see here is 48 million particles that runs in 15 seconds per frame. Let's do even more. These sand armadillos contain a total of 55 million particles and take about 30 seconds per frame. And in return, look at that beautiful mixture of the two sand materials. And with half a minute per frame, that's a great deal. I'll take this any day of the week. And if we wish to simulate crushing this piece of concrete with a hydraulic press, that will take nearly 100 million particles. Just look at that footage. This is an obscene amount of detail. And the price to be paid for this is nearly 4 minutes of simulation time for every frame that you see on the screen here. 4 minutes, you say? That's a little more than expected. Why is that? We had several seconds per frame for the others, not minutes per frame. Well, it is because the particle count matters a great deal, but that's not the only consideration for such a simulation. For instance,
Okay, so now we got a taste of like sand, particle physics, got concrete in there. Giving you an idea of how AI is being used to create different kinds of CGI.
is larger without losing any.
Let's look
Dear
into
fellow scholars,
how it's being utilized for rocket CGI, smoke, things like that.
this is 2-minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. In this series, we often talk about smoke and fluid simulations, and sometimes the examples showcase a beautiful smoke plume, but not much else. However, in real production environments, these simulations often involve complex scenes with many objects that interact with each other, and therein lies the problem. Computing these interactions is called coupling, and it is very difficult to get right, but is necessary for many of the scenes you will see throughout this video. This new graphics paper builds on a technique called the Lattice-Boltzmann method and promises a better way to compute this two-way coupling. For instance, in this simulation, two-way coupling is required to compute how this fiery smoke trail propels the rocket upward. So, coupling means interaction between different kinds of objects, but what about the two-way part? What does that mean exactly? Well, first,
See the level of detail in the smoke contained in the glass container, source object bouncing around, interacting with it, going through it, spraying more smoke, having that smoke interact with the other. This is being used against us. It can easily be used against us, and you bet your ass it's being used.
let's have a look at one-way coupling. As the box moves here, it has an effect on the smoke plume around it. This example also showcases one-way coupling where the falling plate stirs up the smoke around it. The parts with the higher Reynolds numbers showcase more turbulent flows. Typically, that's the real good stuff if you ask me. And now, on to two-way coupling. In this case, similarly to previous ones, the boxes are allowed to move the smoke, but the added two-way coupling part means that now the smoke is also allowed to blow away the boxes. What's more, the vortices here on the right were even able to suspend the red box in the air for a few seconds. An excellent demonstration of a beautiful phenomenon. Now, let's look at the previous example with the dropping plate and see what happens. Yes, indeed, as the plate drops, it moves the smoke, and as the smoke moves, it also blows away the boxes. Woohoo! Due to improvements in the coupling computation, it also simulates these kinds of vortices much more realistically than previous works. Just look at all this magnificent progress in just 2 years. So, what else can we do with all this? What are the typical scenarios that require accurate two-way coupling? Well, for instance, it can perform an incredible tornado simulation that you see here, and there's an alternative view where we only see the objects moving about. So, all this looks good, but really, how do we know how accurate this technique is? And now comes my favorite part, and this is when we let reality be our judge and compare the simulation results with real-world experiments. Hold on to your papers while you observe the real experiment here on the left. And now the algorithmic reproduction of the same scene here. How close are they? Goodness, very, very close. I will stop the footage at different times so we can both evaluate it better. Love it. The technique can also undergo the wind tunnel test. Here is the real footage, and here is the simulation. And it is truly remarkable how close this is able to match it, and I was wondering that even though as someone who has been doing fluids for a while now, if someone cropped this part of the image and told me that it is real-world footage, I would have believed it in a second. Absolute insanity. So, how much do we have to wait to compute a simulation like this? Well, great news, it uses your graphics card, which is typically the case for the more rudimentary fluid simulation algorithms out there, but the more elaborate ones typically don't support it, or at least not without a fair amount of additional effort. The quickest example was this, as it was simulated in less than 6 seconds, which I find to be mind-blowing. A smoke simulation with box movements in a few seconds, I am truly out of words. The rocket launch scene took the longest with 16 hours, while the falling plate example with the strong draft that threw the boxes around with about 4.5 hours of computation time. The results depend greatly on delta t, which is the size of the time steps, or in other words, in how small increments we can advance time when creating these simulations to make sure we don't miss any important interactions. You see here that in the rocket example, we have to simulate roughly 100,000 steps for every second of video footage. No wonder it takes so long. We have an easier time with this scene where these time steps can be 50 times larger without losing any detail, and hence it goes much faster. The grid resolution also matters a great deal, which specifies how many spatial points the simulation has to take place in. The higher the resolution of the grid, the larger the region we can cover, and the more details we can simulate. As most research works, this technique doesn't come without limitations, however. It is less accurate if we have simulations involving thin rods and shells, and typically uses 2 to 3 times more memory than a typical simulator program. If these are the only trade-offs to create all this marvelous footage, sign me up this very second. Overall, this paper is extraordinarily well written, and of course, it has been accepted to the SIGGRAPH conference, one of the most prestigious scientific venues in computer graphics research. Huge congratulations to the authors, and if you wish to see something beautiful today, make sure to have a look at the paper itself in the video description. Truly stunning work. What a time to be alive! This episode has been supported by Lambda GPU Cloud. If you're looking for
So, yeah, we can create CGI that bounces off smoke particles that bounce off an environment. We're already at the point of photorealistic CGI. This was really like that next level stuff that has for a long time not been something that we could even dream of computing, um, but now we can, and now it's in the hands of the public. So, how far can they take photorealism? Take a look. AI made all of these faces is the name of this video here. I did some Adobe After Effects work about 10 years ago as Dirty Sam Squatch, and was amazed at the exploding block effect. It took about 23 hours rendering on a $3,600 Mac maxed out memory. Yep. Yeah. I do After Effects stuff, and believe me, just creating a 15-second, um, like, let me see, um, see, I have a, oh, go to YouTube. Somewhere on here, I have a YouTube channel that has my stuff. You know what? Just go to my website. So this right here. Hey, looking for a great way to promote your product, your service? Fake office in the background, everything, you know, that was done through Photoshop, and then the intro, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds long. Those After Effects, that was like at least 40 something minutes of rendering right there. That's more along the lines of quicker one for how nice it looks, but yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, and it was just really like click, click, hit go. It creates itself. I typed what I wanted to say, and I put the logo that I wanted to have appear in the ball, and boom, done. And are they doing that cylinder smoke cube bouncing thing in 6 minutes? Uh, I don't know what he said, but all I know is it's getting faster and faster and faster and faster. Like they're shaving down the time it takes to render the better animations, shaving down the time in fractions over the course of these 2 years. So not only is it getting better looking, way better looking, it's getting way faster as well. We're at the point where they can do it probably in real time. I mean, if I can do the stuff that I'm doing right now in real time, this is, I mean, I look like either a girl or a cartoon. I mean, move my hair, it moves with the, it's, bruh. The stuff that we can do is quite amazing. Oh, this one doesn't look all that amazing. I got wings and shit on me. I'm just, you know, I'm kind of speechless when I look at the technology being employed here, but this one here will blow you away. And AI made all these faces.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. Today, I am going to try to tell you the glorious tale of AI-based human face generation and showcase an absolutely unbelievable new paper in this area. Early in this series, we covered a stunning paper that showcased a system that could not only classify an image, but write a proper sentence on what is going on and could cover even highly non-trivial cases. You may be surprised, but this thing is not recent at all. This is 4-year-old news. Insanity. Later, researchers turned this whole problem around and performed something that was previously thought to be impossible. They started using these networks to generate photorealistic images from a written text description. We could create new bird species by specifying that it should have orange legs and a short yellow bill. Then, researchers at NVIDIA recognized and addressed two shortcomings. One was that the images were not that detailed, and two, even though we could input text, we couldn't exert too much artistic control over the results. In came StyleGAN to the rescue, which was then able to perform both of these difficult tasks really well. Furthermore, there are some features that are highly localized. As we exert control over these images, you can see how this part of the teeth and eyes were pinned to a particular location, and the algorithm just refuses to let it go, sometimes to the detriment of its surroundings. A follow-up work titled StyleGAN 2 addresses all of these problems in one go. So, StyleGAN 2 was able to perform near-perfect synthesis of human faces, and remember, none of these people that you see here really exist. Quite remarkable.
Yeah, I'd say that's damn remarkable if you ask me. I come from the days of the Wild West. This shit wasn't around in my day. No, seriously. What? These are not real people? Okay. I mean, it just leaves me speechless. Like, dudes, what's real? Is the Queen of England still alive? Hey!
Really exist. Quite remarkable. So, how can we improve this magnificent technique? Well, this new work can do so many things, I don't even know where to start. First and most important, we now have much more intuitive, artistic control over the output images. We can add or remove a beard, make the subject younger or older, change their hairstyle, make their hairline recede, put a smile on their face, or even make their nose pointier. Absolute witchcraft. So why can we do all this with this new method? The key idea is that it is not using a generative adversarial network, a GAN in short. A GAN means two competing neural networks where one is trained to generate new images and the other one is used to tell whether the generated images are real or fake. GANs dominated this field for a long while because of their powerful generation capabilities, but on the other hand, they are quite difficult to train and we only have limited control over its output. Among other changes, this work disassembles the generator network into F and G and the discriminator network into E and D, or in other words, adds an encoder and decoder network here. Why? The key idea is that the encoder compresses the image data down into a representation that we can edit more easily. This is the land of beards and smiles, or in other words, all of these intuitive features that we can edit exist here, and when we are done, we can decompress the output with a decoder network and produce these beautiful images. This is already incredible. But what else can we do with this new architecture? A lot more. For instance, too, if we add a source and destination subjects, their coarse, middle, or fine styles can also be mixed. What does that mean exactly? The coarse part means that high-level attributes like pose, hairstyle, and face shape will resemble the source subject. In other words, the child will remain a child and inherit some of the properties of the destination people. However, as we transition to the fine from source part, the effect of the destination subject will be stronger and the source will only be used to change the color scheme and microstructure of this image. Interestingly, it also changes the background of the subject. 3. It can also perform image interpolation. This means that we have these 4 images as starting points and it can compute intermediate images between them. You see here that as we slowly become Bill Gates, somewhere along the way, glasses appear. Now note that interpolating between images is not difficult in the slightest and has been possible for a long time. All we need to do is just compute average results between these images. So, what makes a good interpolation process? Well, we are talking about good interpolation when each of the intermediate images makes sense and can stand on their own. I think this technique does amazingly well at that. I'll stop the process at different places, you can see for yourself, and let me know in the comments if you agree or not.
Yeah, that's a thing that's happening. It's that real, you know. We can be easily fooled now with lots of the people that we see on TV, and even old Horry can fool you. I'll show you a little something. It can turn me into okay, come on, computer, just do it. You got this. Doing is asking you to open some pictures. All right, so just save them into a folder. Dot. Let me put them in this one. Dude, I had to send them from my phone, so basically, I'll pull them up. All right, if I can turn, see, share my screen. Be the easiest way to do this. If I can turn this face with my Razor Ramon hair flip into this beautiful woman. Yeah, we're pretty screwed. That was a one-click operation. So good luck. Good luck figuring out what's reality and what's not, right? Um, all those faces were not real faces. It's generations from some source imagery with sliders and creating whole new people. And there's also we can take these new faces, these new people we've created, and it's not just a picture. We have AI technology, CGI stuff, to where we could take that picture and make it move. Just like I was doing with the Avatar Fi, I took a single picture of Pee Wee Herman's face, and if I turned it, it would make an ear. It would recreate an ear that wasn't even visibly there. Stuff like that. So we can take these faces, we can do that. We can apply audibly realistic. I don't even know if that's a word. We could apply super realistic vocal vocal audio voiceovers to these faces that mimic human speech on a level far beyond those robot voice videos that we have all over Facebook and YouTube and the works. You know, you've heard a video and it just doesn't sound quite human. There's a lot of them sound really good, but they're robot voices. But these are like there's the AI now. If it wants to, like we have stuff strong enough to recreate singers and singing style vocals, like you know, a Sheryl Crow make Sheryl Crow sing anything you want, and you wouldn't be able to realize it's not really Sheryl Crow, or you know, some singer that's got a really unique voice. You know, Nate O'Connor, like AI is recreating their vocal voice inflections, and whatever. You know, and it's like and then you got to think about it like this. You ever look at? We were just listening to a video a while ago about mirroring and how we've got mirrors of ourselves different ways could be well, think about doppelgangers. We got somebody that looks like you somewhere. I just watched a video where they just kind of got a whole bunch of those people together and scientifically determined just how similar their facial features were, down to their eye spacing, their teeth, jaw structure, everything. Um, and I mean, these people could like one of them could commit murder, and the other one could get blamed for it. So if we if we let's just say that we are totally believe in some fake Hollywood figure that they've done this with. It's a singer, a real person, whatever. You can make a singer with AI or maybe even a real person, model after a real person, and pretty much the only time that person has to do anything is when they're standing on stage with the voiceover of their song playing in the background. They just looking like they doing it, and they can easily just do all that now. Be a person that you think is the best singer, favorite pop star, but they can't sing. The whole voice is AI generated. They're on TV though, and even when they're not on TV, they controlling an animation of making them say what the hell they want to say at any point. It's like it's totally doable, totally 100% doable. I, I'm not saying that's what they're doing with everybody, but I'm just saying it's doable. It's totally doable, no doubt, totally believable. You just get a doppelganger for those public engagements when people want to whip out their phones and their cameras, and that'll seal the deal, the illusion. And you say crisis actors? Exactly. Yeah, there's crisis actors. There's one of them or a couple, several of them been found in like 6 different events. Like, what are the odds? So it's pretty crazy. Let's see what else I have lined up. Um, Cloth simulation. This will interest some of you gamers. Some of you have been probably playing games for a long time, watching the evolution of armor and cloth that slowly starts to appear on armor. And when we first had it, it didn't animate very well, and then when we got it, it's sort of animated with the character, and in the rarest occasions does it bounce off the character and flow on its own. This is next level cloth physics simulation right here.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. This day is the perfect day to simulate the kinematics of yarn and cloth on our computers. As you just saw, this is not the usual intro that we use in every episode, so what could that be? Well, this is a simulation specifically made for us using a technique from today's paper. And it has a super high stitching density, which makes it all the better. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what that means and why that matters. But first, for context, I would like to show you what researchers were able to do in 2012, and we will see together how far we have come since. This previous work was about creating these highly detailed cloth geometries for digital characters. Here you see one of its coolest results, where it shows how the simulated forces pull the entire piece of garment together. We start out by dreaming up a piece of cloth geometry, and this simulator gradually transforms it into a real-world version of that by subjecting it to real physical forces. This is a step that we call yarn level relaxation. So, this paper was published in 2012, and now nearly 9 years have passed, so I wonder how far we have come since. Well, we can still simulate knitted and woven materials through similar programs that we call direct yarn level simulations. Here's one. I think we can all agree that these are absolutely beautiful. So, what's the catch? The catch is that this is not free. There is a price we have to pay for these results. Look. Whoa! These really take forever. We are talking several hours, or for this one, almost even an entire day to simulate just one piece of garment. And it gets worse. Look, this one takes more than 2 full days to compute. Imagine how long we would have to wait for complex scenes in a feature-length movie with several characters. Now, of course, this problem is very challenging, and to solve it, we have to perform a direct yarn-level simulation. This means that every single strand of yarn is treated as an elastic rod, and we have to compute how they react to external forces, bending deformations, and more. That takes a great deal of computation. So, our question today is, can we do this in a more reasonable amount of time? Well, the first law of papers says that research is a process. Do not look.
Pretty amazing. This is photorealistic yarn, cloth, and it's the way it's designed, the way it's done is probably gonna blow your mind. But look how real it looks. They're moving on to like just random stuff like this to make photorealistic, okay? You know, you just combine the few things that we just saw, and it can get you to believe anything. Absolutely.
Look at where we are, look at where we will be 2 more papers down the line. Let's see if the law holds up here. This new paper promises to retain many important characteristics of the full simulation, but takes much less time to compute. That is amazing. Things stretch, bend, and even curl up similarly, but the simulation time is cut down a great deal. How much less? Well, this one is 5 times faster. That's great. This one, 20 times. Oh my. But it gets better. Now, hold on to your papers and look. This one is almost 60 times faster than the full yarn level simulation. My goodness. However, of course, it's not perfect. In return, pulling effects on individual yarns is neglected, so we lose the look of this amazing holy geometry. I'd love to get that back. Now, these examples were using materials with a relatively small stitching density. The previous full yarn level simulation method scales with the number of yarn segments we add to the garment. So, what does this all mean? This means that higher stitching density gives us more yarn strands, and the more yarn strands there are, the longer it takes to simulate them. In these cases, you can see the knitting patterns, so there aren't that many yarns, And even with that, it still took multiple days to compute a simulation with one piece of garment. So, I hope you know what's coming. It can also simulate super high stitching densities efficiently. What does that mean? It means that it can also simulate materials like the satin example here. This is not bad by any means, but similar simulations can be done with much simpler simulators, so our question is, why does this matter? Well, let's look at the backside here and marvel at this beautiful scene showcasing the second best curl of the day. Loving it. And now I hope you're wondering what the best curl of the day is. Yes, here goes. This is the one that was showcased in our intro, which is 2-minute papers curling up. You can only see this footage here. Beautiful. Huge congratulations and a big thank you to Georg Sperl, the first author of the paper, who simulated this 2-minute paper scene only for us and with a super high stitching density. That is quite an honor. Thank you so much. As I promised, we now understand exactly why the stitching density makes it all the better. And if you have been watching this series for a while, I am sure you have seen computer graphics researchers destroy armadillos in the most spectacular manner. Make sure to leave a comment if this is the case. That is super fun, and I thought there must be a version of that for cloth simulations. And of course there is. And now, please meet the Yarmadillo. The naming game is very strong here. And just one more thing, Georg Sperl, the first author of this work, was a student of mine in 2014 at the Technical University of Vienna, where he finished a practical project in light simulation programs, and he did excellent work there.
So, yeah. Quite a lot of cool stuff that you can do with technology these days. If I want to be a fucking cucumber right now, wiggle my head for you guys and jiggle on through the screen right now. You know, this is real time. It's almost photorealistic. It would be a little better if I just took the filters off. Better added that green back to it, you know. But I have a green screen filter on it. Just really, really bizarre that the level that they're at with all this. But I think I've pretty much made my point with it all, you know. Between the CGI, particle effects, whatnot, and the whole faces reconstruction and the vocal stuff that I can't find right now, or I don't know where it is, but when you come across that information, it'll blow your mind just the same how we're able to recreate voices. It's nuts. I hope this was a healthy intake for your brains. I'm still doing my work here in the background. Just a lot of sitting and waiting. Getting paid pretty good to do this. I'll be watching videos all night. I might pop back on here or just kind of take a break. I'm at about a stopping point to where I need to have fun. So I'll end this one here on this. It's made my point, and I hope you guys liked it. See you later, Dirty Sam Squatch, and Seth, if you're still watching. Anna, if you're still watching. See y'all later. Have a good night or a good day. That's what. Sun's coming up, Horry. No? I think that's it. About my intro, and I'm Gucci. If I come back online, it'll be for some kind of game probably tonight.
Fighting the machine, fighting the machine, fighting the machine, fighting the machine.
Horry Show. Take the red pill. Take the red
Light.